Let me fix
Late night edition of POSTCAST tonight as the Utah Jazz hold off the shorthanded Dallas Mavericks, who put quite a fright into the Jazz tonight. And we'll talk about why the Jazz had such a hard time breaking away and what the Mavericks did. And heck, we're past FCC hours because it's late enough. You never know what might happen on tonight's edition of POSTCAST.
Let me see if it's past my bedtime.
It's well
my
past
goodness,
your bedtime.
it's an hour past my bedtime.
POSTCAST here tonight. David Locke along with Ron Boone. Thanks for joining us. The Jazz hold off the Dallas Mavericks and win their 12th game in their last 14. And they beat the shorthanded Mavericks, who brought a Jalen Brunson, Kristaps Porzingis plan to the party, and it was hard to guard. Mm-hmm. And really, there was a moment in time, and I actually think the only thing that changed is that Rudy Gobert became unbelievable defensively. But they had the answer. They were getting Porzingis in the post on O'Neal. Brunson was getting to their left, and it was concerning, Ron. They had shortened the game. They had played it to a two-man game, and we did not have answers for either Jalen Brunson or Kristaps Porzingis. And it felt as though this one was in the balance.
Well, I think he's going to provide a problem like that from forever if he's going to stay at that power forward position or the forward position. I know they don't call it power forward anymore, but, we have someone like 6'4" Royce O'Neal guarding him and really fighting, trying to keep him from getting from that spot, meaning that 10-foot spot or that 8-foot spot where he can just shoot right over the top of you. But, they had an offensive plan that worked. But what I was impressed with is the fact that, the Jazz made a great run. They took the lead, went up 6-7 points, but they didn't stop fighting. And as you mentioned so many times, there's some guys fighting for some playing time and jobs on that team.
Tuesday, I was listening to Locked On Mavericks on my way in today, and Nick and Isaac were talking about how that this team this year has not grabbed the fans at all. That they haven't played with any juice. They haven't played a lot. The fan base has been kind of sour with them because they've kind of underperformed, and frankly, Luka's underperformed. They didn't say that because they never said anything bad about Luka, but that's true. Mm-hmm. And this kind of weird group of players with 7 different players under COVID had actually been this group that the first time you could hear Maverick fans be kind of proud and excited about their play. And I think that tonight would fit to that they just relentlessly kept coming at the Jazz. The Jazz were down 16 early in this game and had to fight their way back. And 2 players from the Jazz standpoint I thought were terrific. Jordan Clarkson brought an energy tonight.
Oh, boy, yes, he did.
Really big-time energy. We talk so often about bringing scoring or things like that to the table, but tonight Jordan brought energy.
And I think what's impressive, what I've seen, that energy you're talking about, a couple of possessions there where he just flat out got after it defensively, came up with a steal, came up with a strip, and it just some energy that I had not seen from him all season long. Now, the other thing is he took 13 shots, but it didn't look like he's been averaging about 15 a game, I think. But those 13 shots didn't look like the number of shots that he was been getting in other games, meaning, his head down and not knowing where everybody else is on the floor. Look at that. He ended up with 8 rebounds. He had 4 assists in 26 minutes. In 26 minutes of play, but it didn't look like he was, how do you want to call it?
Well, he was playing with teammates.
Yeah,
basically. He was doing the little things. He was playing with his teammates. Yeah. 10, 11 assists in the last 2 games. He's pulled his shots way back. Yeah. He's playing a little bit of a different game right now, which is awfully impressive. The other one was late in the game. What the Jazz did is they basically said, like a little bit to Patrick Beverley's comments about Rudy Gobert, they basically said, we want Rudy to guard the best player. So they had Rudy guard Porzingis, and they had Royce O'Neal guard Brunson. And when they ran the pick and roll, the Jazz just willingly switched it. Mm-hmm. And it left Rudy Gobert on Jalen Brunson, which they wanted, and it left Royce O'Neal on Porzingis, which was a tougher matchup for them, and then Rudy kind of shadowed and hovered and around there to try to impact that. But Rudy's job on Jalen Brunson, he was the only person who slowed him down tonight.
Yeah, and what was impressive about that is that they forced him into the short clock with Rudy guarding him. Now, he doesn't have a lot of time to try to cross over and change directions and try to get rid of Rudy Gobert, and Rudy was right there to defend the shot. He knocked down 1 3 over Rudy, but it was a good shot. But that was something the Jazz played right into their hands. They did a great job of creating that.
So the Jazz were able to get those stops late. Mike Conley made a bunch of plays. Donovan just kind of is relentless. I thought he was bothered by something all night. He just didn't look springy like himself. He did have a nice dunk, but he didn't look like he was moving well. He came out when he got checked in the second quarter. He had a wrap on his back. He came up for a layup, and he came around and kind of stuttered to the ground at one point, which to me kind of almost looked like a back, the way you do when your back hurts. His first steps weren't sharp, and yet this guy willed himself to a 33-point night tonight. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and another thing, if I can bring up something Mike Conley talked about, playing against shorthanded teams, and players know that. It's just, and sometimes we want them to do better, but sometimes it's just hard, and they realize how difficult it is to get mentally ready, sometimes for teams like that.
I mean, the league's loaded with skills. So Jalen Brunson's really, really good. I mean, he is basically Malcolm Brogdon, and he is cherishing this. In 5 games, he's playing about 40 minutes a game. He's shooting 50-40. He's made himself. I mean, I'm not joking. He may have made himself $30-35 million.
Well, without a doubt, I don't think there's any doubt. If you look around the league and some of the other point guards in this league or guys, and what are they doing that he's not? That's making a ton of money. But that's what you play for. You play for a good living. You play for a championship. You play to get better every year that you're in the league. And it's great when you're a player that you can get 10 years in playing professional basketball.
The other one I would want to point out is Bogey's late game play. He's just been remarkable recently. And I go back to a conversation I had with Bogey last year was when he talked about, or excuse me, a few weeks ago, when I asked him just about like how he's adapted to being, when he first came and I sat down with him, he said, I want my teammates to believe I'm the man. Yeah. And how have you adapted? And he says, well, I want them to still believe in me, that believe in I can be the man. And it's clear they do because they are feeding him when it matters, and he is coming through.
Yeah, and he is really responding. He's doing it in a lot of different areas, a lot of different ways, rather, with driving to the basket. He's knocking down threes. He's posting up, all those kind of things. And while you were talking, it just reminded me of something, an interview that I was listening to with him where he said that, the guys are doing their thing and they'll find me, which meaning he was just waiting for the defense to break, for their teammates to break the defense down and getting the basketball. He wasn't trying to move without it and go get it or playing with the ball in his hands. He just said they'll find me. That way he can shoot an uncontested shot or something like that. So from that standpoint, he has changed his game totally to where he's playing well with the ball in his hands, and he's shooting off the dribble, catch and shoot, and then he's posting up there as well.
A lot of questions coming in. A lot of people did not think the officiating was very good. I did think that they just did not have. I didn't think they had a great game on that.
What we saw was probably last year's officiating.
Yeah,
they probably saw.
Can you explain the breakdown of O'Neal ending up guarding Porzingis? I think we just did a minute ago, but in case you didn't hear it, they're willing to switch. They kind of got that match. If Porzingis in the post on a turnaround jumper over O'Neal, it's not great because he's 7'4" and O'Neal 6'4", but it is it's not the highest percentage shot. Porzingis in the post is not particularly good, and it's better than having Brunson drive, and it's better than giving up an open three. So there's some game there where that's kind of you're picking your poison.
Yeah.
On that one all the way around. Let's see. Anything else? Weird question of why do Utah Jazz announcers call Donovan? Don't Utah Jazz announcers call Donovan Spider or Spider? I don't.
Spider.
I call him Don or Donovan.
Yeah.
That's what I do when I talk to him. I use the Spider spin is my recognition of his nickname, but I sorry, I don't have a really good answer for you on that one. And I think a lot of bogey love and a lot of questions about the ball in which the guy caught himself, and they didn't call travel. They missed it. They missed a few tonight.
Yeah.
They including the ball where the ball hit the official in the face, which we gave him a break for. So we can't get mad at him for that. Merry Christmas to y'all. Thanks for the crew that all wished us a happy Merry Christmas. Thank you for tuning in. Jazz win their 12th of their last 14. They haven't been dominant since they got home. They were dominant on the road. They'll head to San Antonio and Portland, and we'll see whether they're dominant when we do our postcast for you before the game or after the game. You'll think it's really weird because we're going to be right here because we're not going on the road. So that'll be, if you wonder, why do you see a Zions Bank thing tomorrow night or whatever, it'll be because we're here. So we'll be back with you for that. Talk to you soon. Have a great